This episode's brought to you by Affordable Drill Towers. Founded in 2016 by our good friend Steve Sanguidoce, a retired Houston, Texas firefighter, the Affordable Drill Tower was designed and built with functionality and versatility in mind for any training ground. As a standalone training tower or an add-on to an existing burn building or Connex setup, the Affordable Drill Tower packs a massive punch at an affordable price tag. With over 50 towers across the country, from Massachusetts to California, Montana to Texas, professionally engineered, NFPA and ISO compliant, the Affordable Drill Towers brings the versatility to your training ground. From Main Street USA, the small town fire company in their back parking lot, to the training grounds of the largest metropolitan fire academy, the Affordable Drill Tower fits the bill for price and functionality. Check them out at affordabledrilltowers.com. And two things I like to talk about also when talking about our friends over at Affordable Drill Towers. One, their customized training program. They have the ability to bring some of the best talent from across the country to your home turf after the install of the Affordable Drill Tower. Designing a customized training program for you and your department, Steve will facilitate some of the biggest and brightest names of the American Fire Service to come in and work with you and your department. And secondly, and I think most important, is Steve's belief in need over greed. The Affordable Drill Tower company gives back to not-for-profits that support organizations in the American Fire Service. Organizations such as the Joey D Foundation, which is near and dear to Steve Sanguidoce's heart, as well as many other not-for-profits that he takes a part of. He takes great pride in providing funding for organizations that push this job forward. So check them out, Steve and Dennis over at Affordable Drill Towers. Send them an email at info@affordabledrilltowers.com. Check them out on social media, and their YouTube page is kicking butt with great information, training nuggets, and information about their towers. So check them out, Affordable Drill Towers, and let them know Jeremy over at National Fire Radio sent you. This episode's brought to you by Ridgeway Leatherworks. Ridgeway Leatherworks is a firefighter-owned and operated business, as well as a family-run business, and that's what I love about it. Rob and his family are passionate about their customer service and the quality product and craftsmanship they put out for the emergency services. Rob's been on the show. We've been to his business. We've seen them in action. I've even tried to hand paint radio straps. I promise you, it is not as easy as what the final outcome looks like. The product is so good and so clean and crisp, and yet, man, it takes that steady hand. Rob's become a near and dear friend of our podcast, and you hear that over and over when we talk about our sponsors, that they're friends, supporters, and that's what this networking community is all about, is supporting one another. Ridgeway Leatherworks, Rob Meyer, crushing it. Quality and craftsmanship is number one. Customer service is right there with it. From custom radio straps, universal radio holsters, chin straps, flashlight holders, anti-sway straps, and locker tags made out of leather, there's plenty of opportunity along the way when you deal with Ridgeway Leatherworks. So check them out at ridgewayleatherworks.com. Find them on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And tell Rob you heard about him on the National Fire Radio platform, and give him a little plug and tell him keep up the good work. We need to support our firefighter-owned businesses, and especially family-run businesses, where his two daughters and his wife help out day in and day out along with his other employees. So again, Ridgeway Leatherworks, check them out at ridgewayleatherworks.com and find them on all your social media channels.
Here we are, everybody, on episode 31 of the Size Up by National Fire Radio. And thanks for joining me on your Tuesday morning, afternoon, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever day you're listening. But these all come out on Tuesday. So I'm just going to continue to say Tuesday. And I am still messing up that whole intro, or I didn't like that one. Like, hey, everybody. Like, I guess it's better than the what's up, but I don't know. And this is going to be a work in progress, and someone's going to write me an intro, I think, and I'm just going to run with that forever on every episode. But
intro with the music.
Oh, see, now I love it too. The guests just talk now. They don't. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do a quick intro and I'll get you going. And the guests are like, screw you, Pip. I'm talking to say this. So the music thing. All right, wait now, because I can't talk to you because I didn't introduce you yet. So you're messing up my podcast flow here. But my guest today is, we've been like circling each other for years now, and online buddies, I guess. We've never really met, even though we run in a lot of the same circles. But he's got so many interesting things to talk about, and I can't wait to get into a bunch of these. And I'm just going to go with it now, but Rick Ricardo Roman from the FDNY CrossFit, and I guess the FDNY and Queens, right? Queens?
Yeah, I live in Queens, work in
Living in,
Manhattan.
living in Queens, working in Manhattan. Welcome to the Size Up, man. Thanks for joining me today.
Cheers, Rob. Thanks for having me, man.
Rob, dude, call me Pip. You know better than that, man. Rob is
All
so.
right, say no more. Yeah,
It's like the worst, man. I can't.
I use your official name. You use my official name. But yeah, I got you. I got you.
I see. I like how you play that one. So it's like, man, you used a real name on here. I'm dropping yours, and everybody's gonna know. But so,
I
so
got
the
you, Pip. I got you going forward.
the music thing is hard in the podcast world because of the music rights that are out there, and how Sebi, our audio engineer, gets the music that he puts on is this crazy way that I'm not going to say out loud because we were talking about things listening and we don't want to get busted for what we do. But like, I almost need someone to record me some original podcast music, and then it would be cool to get to what you're saying.
Jot down the notes, man, on the whiteboard. Jot them down.
Oh yeah, I saw. So before we started, Rick moved his whiteboard out of the way so no one would steal his notes that he had written on there and steal your ideas. Right? Is that where that one went away to, or no?
You know, it's funny, Rob, because we're both fitness junkies and we love CrossFit. As much as we use a whiteboard for WODs and programming, I've actually taken the time out to just try to jot down my ideas, right? And just if I could see them daily, they kind of they
They become
become like
they
almost
become
like yeah, you kind of grow them, right? You kind of nurture them, and then you're able to plot and scheme on them better. That's just what I find.
No, I'm right in there with you too because so at my real desk, which is over there, this is the podcast studio of my office, which just basically means I move everything over because the board doesn't fit on my desk. But I actually bought like a whiteboard. It's like a rollout, like Saran wrap, right? Of like it's black, but you can write on it with erasable ink, and that's on the wall behind my desk because that's where all my notes go and my lines and my like it's like the I'm not going to show it to you because then you steal my ideas, but it's like a beautiful mind, you know, Russell Crowe is like moving all the things over there. You probably no one could understand it anyway, but I feel the same for you, that when you write something down and you see it, you're going to do it, right? It's kind of like that workout, like you said, like there's days where I'm like, I'm not doing that, but it's on the board, so for some reason I did it.
Yeah, I find you hit the nail on the head. You're more inclined to get those things done if they're in the forefront, right? So it's a good tool, I guess. You know, we can share with your listeners, like get a whiteboard not only for working out, right? Get it
Yeah.
for if you're dream chasing or if you got things coming ahead, you might be more sharp.
I feel like too, and I use my phone a lot because we're all on our phones because come on, like you're just this is your life, you know, is what you do. And as much as I don't want to be there, I'm still there. I do a lot of notes in my phone and I do a lot of voice notes in my phone now. But for those things to come to fruition, I gotta write them on the wall because I forget they're in there. You know, so it's like I gotta take that note and then I gotta write on the wall, go back to note 8,792 in your phone to remind myself to do that. Because again, it's that visualization.
Right, right.
And
It
I think
helps. It helps.
it totally helps. And I think it's something, and here for my listeners out there, you know, the Size Up talks about a lot of different things, and being a fitness junkie, this is going to be a more fitnessy episode, but don't tune out because we're probably going to talk some fire stuff and there's a lot of other things there. We are going to talk about CrossFit though, so we can just lay it out there that we're going to say the word a few times in this podcast because it's a big part of your life here, and it was a huge part of mine for a really long time. But we are going to say that word, and I think to get to your backstory a little bit, you know, how did you get into what came first, you know, the fitness or the fire service?
Man, great question. I think fitness first, just in general. Just I remember being a kid, just having a passion for it. I remember getting my first pain with not doing squats properly, right? When you're young.
You
And
had
then, I
giraffe
ended up
knees.
going to school. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just wasn't doing things correctly, but you're just trying to stay fit for your high school sports or, you do things in general, right? You just go to the gym, bench. But I had a love
Optimize
for it.
just
I
in
ended
case.
up, yeah, yeah, yeah. I had a love for it, and I went to school for human movement and exercise science and Sacred Heart University. So, I always had a passion for it deep down, and it's I've had incremental growth from my 20s to where I'm at now, nearly 42. Just being around it and having different knowledge bases of different things, like the idea of being a strength coach and having cycles of a year, micro or macro, or just doing bodybuilding when you're young to now having the passion for CrossFit.
I love that you said incremental growth, because when you're that young kid and you pick up Flex magazine or Muscle and Fitness, or something like that, and you see the folks in there, you see the pictures in there, you're like, I want to be just like that. And in your mind, at a young age, you're like, that happened overnight for that guy. And it didn't. It was all incremental growth over time. And I think that's
Oh
such a
yeah,
huge part of fitness, right? Is that incremental, how you said, from your 20s to now your 40s, the same as me, like how much you've grown and how much you've changed, both physically and mentally.
yeah. I mean, the reason why I use that word, I feel like the knowledge base that you get when you're in school, um, especially when you're young, um, unless there's like real application, which ends up happening over time, you kind of don't have like real reference. So, with age comes wisdom, and that can be said as a training age, right? Mentally, like you can have a training age physically, but you can also have a training age mentally, knowing different styles of training. Or I don't know if I'm making sense, but
No,
you
you're,
get
you're
the
definitely
gist.
making, yeah, you're definitely making sense to me too. And I think about that age of being in my teens, and I'm about to have a teenager here. Well, actually, I have a teenager. He's 13. But going back to my early days and my early career, like you couldn't tell me anything, and it wasn't saying like I knew everything, but I was saying that I knew everything, or I was acting that way. And I look back now and I'm like, man, I had so much to learn then. But that was a really important time to think back to be able to be where I am today.
Yeah, facts, facts. I mean, like I said, that's growth, right?
Yeah, and physically and mentally too. People don't even think about that one. Just about how your training styles change. Like now in my 40s, and you're still out here doing it, man. Like competing and doing all these things. And I, I'm to a stage where I'm like, 10 years ago, I was deadlifting and squatting way heavier than I am now, and that's because that's what I wanted 10 years ago. Now it's not really something that I'm chasing as much anymore, and I'm happy to be able to do with, like you said, good form and a decent amount of weight on the bar.
Yeah, when you're younger, you can get away with being young, being able to recover fast, and having bad habits. But the more you get, the more you get an idea of how you respond to training, especially as you're getting older, right? Or you're in the fire service, and the scheduling and those things become factors, and you just got to be smarter about things, I think.
And all the other factors that go into it too. It's the same, like you said, being in the fire service too. Like when I was first starting out at 25 and had no kids, and my wife was my girlfriend, I could stay up all night at the firehouse. You know what I mean? I could do whatever I wanted to. Where now I'm like, ooh, bedtime is a really nice thing, because if we're up for the rest of the night, I need to get some sleep now, type of a thing. And there's just so many factors that I feel like, when I was coming on, we were just learning about, and we're still learning about them now, but they affect us day in and day out. And I'm happy to see the change, and folks like you out there pushing the change.
Yeah, we briefly before we got on, we mentioned James Gearing with Behind the Shield, and we've talked at length about just the general like schedule for most guys, right, across the board, across the
Yeah.
states, and you can hear when you hear somebody's schedule, you immediately think, man, their circadian rhythm has to be off, right, compared to a civilian, and, what they're getting daily through rest and through proper sleep. So you just got to be mindful of it, because if you neglect it, it's like one of those key pieces that just it should be said, right, as part of the training of an athlete. It behooves them to know how much sleep they're getting, or quality sleep, right?
Yeah, it's that quality sleep end of it, and it's so funny, right? Like again, going back to 10 years ago when I was very heavy into CrossFit and being a CrossFit coach and stuff. Excuse me, I was chasing those PRs and things like that, right? What my favorite PR is now to chase, that I get that almost same endorphin rush from? is when my watch tells me how good I did with my sleep goal last night.
Yeah.
Right?
I
And
know.
I'm like, who would be tracking sleep? But it's so exciting to watch. Is like, hey, you slept good last night. Like, high five, Tracy.
Yeah, it's good data to have, right?
Right. And that's it. But these are things that, again, probably even when you were going to Sacred Heart, were they really talking about the importance of sleep, for athletes and things?
I mean, Pep, like when you go to school at the university level, it's you really start hitting your major, what, senior year, right? And
You
the
didn't go to
big
school that
thing,
long,
senior,
man. I'm not gonna lie to you. You got me beat if you made it all 4 years. I made it a couple months, well, over a year, but yeah, couple
man,
semesters.
I had no choice, man. I was a kid from the inner city. I wanted to get it right once, but I noticed that senior year, the big thing I noticed the Sacred Heart was doing was getting the student ready and prepared to either be, athletic training track or exercise science track. And the big thing was the NSCA CSCS at the time. And that's what they drove home. And it was kind of like the Bible that you kind of went with. And, they didn't talk about sleep. I'm sure over in the book, there's probably some sections that
There was a
were
chapter
written
or two in
about it,
there.
but I don't have a reference of it, but that was my experience going through education. And the more and more closer I got to a career. When I was in school, it was just driven home, like to, secure your CSCS, secure your degree, and then figure out what space you're going to get into in the training world.
I think we talked about this too, maybe the first or second time we had a phone conversation, but I actually got into Sacred Heart, and just chose not to go there. Chose to stay and do the whole county college thing. And I don't know if it was the best decision for me, if it was the worst decision for me. You can't go back and change, but such a small university in Connecticut there that when you hear someone else that was like, I was like, man, we almost, what year were you there? Like, when did you graduate high school?
Graduated high school in '99, and I
Ah, see,
graduated in,
I would have been gone.
in
You said like graduated high school in '96, man. All right, I would have been gone when you were there. Wait, I lost you on that one. What was it?
no, I said you got me on a couple of years, bro.
A couple of years in there. But yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just one of those things. It's funny when you hear someone, and too, like when I was coming out of high school, I didn't really have the mindset so much for what I wanted to do. I was looking at athletic trainer, I was kind of looking at nursing, I was definitely looking at the EMS and fire thing, and it just wasn't in the cards for me to go that route, and it ended up working out. But to think too, coming out of high school and being kind of having an idea that you wanted to go into this athletic field and not just go to a gym and become a trainer, because that CSCS and the NSCA certs are still one of the top certs out there to get as someone into sports performance, or whatever they want to call it today.
Yeah, I find that if I had to look back now on my just my knowledge base with fitness in different fields, the broad spectrum, it feels like if you're going to be a strength coach, at the college or collegiate level or the pro level, it's probably something that you need, right, in the
Yeah.
resume. To have the CSCS and then kind of have internships or things that lend to like a training environment where there's like in season, postseason, preseason. They're very big on pitching that, which is cool. I mean, because I was an intern at one time at the Fordham University as a strength coach, and I saw the application, and it did help the athletes, especially if you were able to like be sound in your Olympic lifts, and have like really side to side, be shifty, and then be able to sprint or go long. It helped the collegiate level athletes.
Yeah, you can see it in. I don't know if you just watched on Netflix, and I just recently talked about this too, with another guest, but on quarterbacks on Netflix with
Yeah, yeah,
Patrick
pretty
Mahomes.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
watching his
I got
training
into it.
regime, like, I mean, it was a great documentary for so many reasons, but watching his training regime, even now, my 13-year-old who plays lacrosse and, works out with me in the garage, and I'm teaching him some things, he was like, dude, dad, those machines he was using and the twisting and the power for his Uncle Rico style of throwing. And this kid can see that. When I was 13, I was like, yo, Phil Simms is a great quarterback, and he doesn't even probably work out, not even knowing those things.
Yeah, yeah, I love Sims, but speaking of the documentary, it felt like the strength coach at the time that he was working with that was kind of his handler.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool to see how he was like trying to figure out movement patterns that could help the quarterback and with his throwing and keeping him strong. fair play to Netflix. They did a good job with that one.
Yeah, they definitely did. I think too that, I mean, they kind of hit the nail on the head. They got lucky with who they picked for the three because they each three had very different stories that they could tie together too. And Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl, so there you go. Like you got the you were able to spread out that season for the documentary so well. But again, that like how he was to me and showing my sons, I'm like, dude, that's a professional athlete. Like, look at the work he's putting in. And Kirk Cousins, too. I don't even want to take anything away from Kirk Cousins or Marcus Mariota because they talked about their training schedules. But, like, I think it was Mariota who was like, let's run hills. And they were running that steep incline there. That's awesome to me.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. Speaking on that scene, the Marcus, it was like um, it's not a common way that people train. I don't see it on I don't see it on Instagram. I don't see it visible, but I'm assuming doing hills work and attacking a hill. Um, the net gain as a powerful athlete on short sprints, it has to be huge. Um,
And
and
short
I'm sure
incline
again,
sprints, like those, like incline sprints are just miserable. I actually have a workout that I have to do. I'm waiting for the fall. It's an hour long of just hill sprint repeats. Pick a hill, run up it, come back down. Just as like a mental grind.
I was
I lost
helping
you.
out.
Wait, go back. I lost your sound again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No, I was saying I got a funny story about a hill. I was helping out at the Rogue Invitational a couple years back, and Bill and Katie had an implement that they used the hill for a couple of their workouts, and we ended up devising a wad in the back, the med team, and we ended up getting in trouble for being on YouTube just doing burpees and hill sprints. But hell of a workout. I mean, if you got to do it, you get out of breath, and it's brutal, man. And it's not an implement that you see often because I don't think most people just don't have access to it.
Yeah, it's the same as like stairs. Like if you have a good set of stairs, like a good stadium set of stairs, we talk about this in the fire service when people ask me, and I know you get this question online all the time, like, I want to be a firefighter. What should I do physically? And one of my first answers is always stairs, 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 and stairs.
Oh yeah, bro. I remember me getting ready for the FDNY and the lead up to it. I lived in it's called a project, but it's just inner city building with like I think it has like 33 floors, the highest building. In my section, it was like 30 floors, and I lived on the 19th at the time, and I had a vest, and I just walk up and down the stairs. I made a point just to get those sessions in the bank because like for us tactically, you're going to be married to the bottle and your gear. And, in New York City, you got to be able to climb the buildings in your first two area, right? So it helps to do stairs. You hit it right on the head, Pip. If you're not training that way, it's foolish.
I am gonna embarrass myself here a little bit because I don't have the names, and I really feel bad about this. But there was when we were doing the 555 honor wads, a firefighter reached out to us, and I want to say he was from Houston because his brother was lost on 9/11, and their father was an FDNY firefighter who retired, and we hadn't made his brother's wad yet. And so we started asking him some questions about, his family and his history. And part of it was that when his brother was transferring to Manhattan from wherever he had worked, he had asked his father about it because I guess his dad had worked in Manhattan for a really long time. And his dad was like, stairs, stairs, and stairs. And so that workout has a lot of step ups in it. And if you don't have a set of stairs, just a step up is one of those great things. Step up, step down, step up, step down. That's just going to prepare you over time for what's to come. And I like how you said you're married to your gear, you're married to your bottle, because that's not coming off. And some things are getting lighter and some things are getting heavier, let's just say, depending on the brand you're purchasing. And you need to be ready for that. The excuse of I'm not physically able to do this isn't really an excuse anymore.
No, it's not gonna be viable. I mean, you know yourself that you owe it to yourself to be prepared in that sense, especially if you're in a big city and there's buildings in your first two area that you're gonna have to climb. I mean, it pays to have that reference and have that know and that wherewithal as a firefighter yourself that you can do that. Because I mean, I find, chances are like the work's going to be put in before the fire floor, and then you're going to work. So
And that's when the real
you
work,
got it.
it's like
Yeah.
technically the real work starts when you hit the fire floor, but really the real work starts on ground as you're climbing your way up there.
Fire is going to be on the fire floor, what you're getting into. So, um, I'll tell you a crazy story too, Pip. I recently did some work with Chris Henshaw on the aerobic capacity course. I know you know who Chris is.
Yeah, man. My
He
man from
actually,
Assault
he
Fitness
actually,
taught me how to run
yeah,
in a matter of 30 seconds, fixed my running for him. Then I'm like, I've run marathons before. And he's like, well, now you'll run them better. Have a good day. I love him.
his energy is infectious, but he has this training piece that he uses with tactical athletes and firefighters, especially where you can hear the cadence off of a bottle and the way someone's breathing while they have an STBA on is like a super good tell of like where they are at, where they're at, right?
Yep.
If they're coming off and their cadence is quick, and that's going to end up spiraling into a whole bunch of things. You get disoriented mentally if you feel like you're not there. You labor, and other things start to cascade on top of you and like, your duties. So slow it down, right? Just take it easy and just try to pace.
It's one of
Those
those
are the
things
things you
too.
can take away.
It's also not really taught too, but it's a way for you to know where your partner is, right? Like, and who you're working with. Because, and
Oh yeah.
especially for me, my department has done a lot of hiring recently. So, as an officer on my companies that I've my engine company, and now I'm on the truck company, we always get the rookies. So, those kids at their first fire, they're breathing, 8 million times a minute, no matter what we're doing, just because it's their first fire, no matter how good a shape they're in. It's just what it is.
Oh yeah.
And like I've so gotten used to it, like, all right, man, just calm down a little bit, slow down your breathing, we'll be okay here. But as you work with veterans and you get to know them, it's something you can be listening for. Because if all of a sudden, if I'm with you and you start breathing differently and I can pick that up, that's got to clue me into something not being right. Right. Like there's something going on with you right now that maybe we should talk about before we go deeper into this warehouse. So I think that's a key thing, a key metric that not many people are talking about, let's say.
Yeah. What you just mentioned is like it's situations that can happen in the fire ground, right? So I mean, I remember being a Proby. It's hard, man. There's a lot of adrenaline. You want to prove your worth, but you got to be careful, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was in a fire with a Proby not too long ago, and he was like, I gotta go. My lights are flashing. And I'm like, no, man, you don't go yet. You go when it starts to vibrate. You'll be okay. And within like 2 minutes later, he's like vibrating. And I'm like, all right, dude. He's like, what do I do? I'm like, you just go out and get another bottle and come back in. And he did. And I'm still, working from the time we started together. And afterwards we had to talk about it. And I'm like, bro, I'm not, you're okay. That was okay. You did everything right. I was like, you were way more excited than I was because I've done this a couple more times than you have. Now for
Yeah.
the next time. Slow my breathing down, start to think about it because that air is precious. And also, to point out at that point, you have to think, how deep am I and how long have I been here and what do I have to get out of? Because I feel like when we talk firefighter emergencies and they run out of air, they may be a little too deep in the building to get back out. So it's that, again, cadence of your breathing and slowing it down. And it's a huge thing that people are learning now and talking about way more.
The mental wherewithal for where you're at in terms of the fire ground, the building, what exposure, but on top of that, like, doing your duties, but knowing like, hey man, how deep am I, right? Where's my bottle? What's my bottle telling me, and how do I get out? And do I have time to get out? And
Yeah. And what
these
duties?
are these are huge golden nuggets you're dropping, man. I remember what you were just saying a couple minutes ago about the box step ups. There's so much transferability in that movement for us, especially if you're loaded with a vest or dumbbells, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to go fast. There's different ways to use that tool.
There's no go fast for me on box step ups. I have come to that conclusion because I can, right?
except when they're programmed in the open.
But that's it too, where I've come to even understand with them. I've done so many of them. I could start off, man, I'm on fire. Like, look at me go, pow, 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 watch me, pow, pow, pow. And then like 2 minutes in, I'm like, I'm not going that fast anymore. It's just that
Yeah, yeah,
cadence though, like that you learn over time. That like, and it's like what Hinshaw talks about things like that too. And he teaches people is like get into your cadence and know your rhythm. It's the same as in a fire scene. Know your rhythm. You had said about knowing your duties. It's the same thing. When those lights start flashing, you need to start thinking about what work do I have to come? Do we still have to make another floor? Do we still have to make 4 more rooms? Or are we kind of narrowing things down here to, oh, we don't have to do much more work?
yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of that stuff it comes with experience because you can get a flood of thoughts, and it's like you have to you have to sort through it to see what's the hierarchy, right? And where am I with the team or with the engine or with the truck or wherever you're working.
That is my job all day, every day, because I just get floods of thoughts throughout my mind in everything I do. And organizing them is, my other part of my job that I'm like, let's organize these. But it directly translates to what it is we do at work is taking on information, translating it, and moving forward. And under fatigue and under duress, it just becomes more challenging. And you were just on the med staff at the CrossFit Games, which again, CrossFit Games athletes are beyond elite level athletes, and the workouts that are programmed there are beyond anything. But they are using their mental capacity to figure out how they're going to keep moving forward. And when you're there, I mean, I've been there, so you get to see that. It's just amazing.
This episode's brought to you by the Affordable Standpipe Prop. Let's break it down real quick. Steve and the crew at Affordable Drill Towers is doing it again. They've created this fully custom and fabricated standpipe prop to support the fire service. I'm telling you right now, this is a game-changing piece of training equipment. And I want to hop into it real quick. It is designed with a 4-inch manifold of high-strength galvanized Schedule 10 pipe. The cart and manifold are powder-coated red for a durable finish, meaning it's not just a talking piece. It's not something you tuck away on the shelf. This is a training prop that can be wheeled into the classroom and then brought out onto the training ground. And so let's talk about that. In the classroom, there's nothing better than having a hands-on prop in front of the students, in front of the fire companies that are there to learn about standpipe and FDC connections. Having that prop in the classroom allows for a great instructional lecture. And then from there, take the standpipe theory and translate it to the training grounds. You could wheel the cart out that's on casters, you wheel it out into the parking lot, and that same training prop that you just used hands-on in the classroom can now be used hands-on on the training ground by pumping into it and flowing out of it. It offers such versatility in its approach. It has a 2.5-inch Siamese connection, 7 2.5-inch outlets, 6 of which are standpipe valves, has a water motor gong, sprinkler head with a control valve, and a system pressure gauge. You can also upgrade and put 3 of the most common field-adjustable PRVs. I'm telling you right now, this is a game-changing training prop that needs to be in every fire company or training department across the country. Reach out to Steve and the crew, info@affordabledrilltowers.com. Ask for a demo, ask for information, or check them out on social media and YouTube. There's plenty of content out there that shows you exactly what the affordable standpipe prop can do for you. This episode's brought to you by Taylor's Tins. Taylor and his crew at Taylor's Tins have been manufacturing aluminum helmet fronts since 2017. With over 200,000 tins in the market, they are a leader in the helmet front space. Custom design, one-offs to department orders, they can turn them around within 24 to 48 hours. Customer service is what they pride themselves on, and they provide nothing but top-shelf product and service to their customers. Check them out at taylorstins.com and check out their full line of product offering. They've always been a very strong supporter since day one with the National Fire Radio podcast and platform, and Taylor and his crew have become dear friends of ours, and we appreciate the support. And at checkout, for a little extra bonus, use coupon code NFR Sent Me. That's NFR Sent Me for a discount on your order. Exclusions do apply. Anyway, check out taylorstins.com for the latest and greatest offerings from Taylor and his crew. And in the words of Taylor, stop burning up leather.
CrossFit, just in general, in terms of what we were talking about before, I mean, using it or the application of doing a WOD and getting to that moment, right, where you know it's really, really bad, you're out of breath. That moment, there's so much transferability to us at work, right?
Yeah.
You know, depending on the evolution, whether it's short, you know, it's a 5, 6 to 7 to 8 minute WOD, and then, you know, the 20-minute WOD, you know, being able to sustain yourself to do it well, right? It helps us. It helps the tactical athlete. It helps firefighters. It helps cops. Overall beneficial. Love being at the games too, Pip. Love being
That's
at the
great.
games.
We definitely got to get into that, but now you got me on this path of how this all works, right? And it's a path that I love to talk about because no one really taught me about it. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm gonna sound like a tool if I say it that way. People taught me about it, but then when it clicks in your head for how this translation works, that's when you get the full buy-in. And for me, it was when, you know, people are like, "Oh, you do these workouts and there's rest in the middle of them." Like, who rests in a workout or something like that? And I'm like, but it's only like a minute of rest. And I always like to compare it to like the alarm comes in, right? And you're amped up and you're getting yourself all ready. That's like your first 5 minutes of a AMRAP. And then you get a minute of rest. And it's really not rest on the fire ground. You're putting your mask on. But that minute of rest is my time to focus and now as an officer, make my 360 and make my call as to what the crew is going to do at this incident. Then you mask up. Now it's your next 5 minutes, which is generally the pure adrenaline terror rush of the beginning of an incident, right? And then again, you get that little bit of lull. If you're on the engine company, oh, they opened the line, so it got a little cooler. If you're searching ahead of the line, the same thing. They opened the line, it got a little cooler. Then you kind of can focus again and bring it back. And so to me, there's just so much of that direct translation. And when it clicked for me, I was like, yep, I'm in. Thank you.
You ended up talking about intervals and how the application on the fiber. That was really nice. Nice job, Pip. I mean, I totally got stuck listening. Like, wow, great analogy, man.
You really, when you think, and too, like, think, because you do the job, you know, and then you get that little bit of lull, you know, or maybe your lull is to come out and change bottles. You know, I know where you work, there's a lot of firefighters, so sometimes you're not changing bottles as much as the rest of us are out there because there's no one else to come in. But those are my lulls of like, this is my recovery. You know, it's another reason why I love like a 20 or like a 15-minute workout, 5 minute rest, 15-minute workout again. Because that 5 minute rest is me getting a new bottle, being like, hey man, put another tank on. I got to go back in. That's where I got to collect myself and focus for what the mission is going to be next. And it's just something that I love about working out. I don't know. I never thought I'd be saying things like this in my life.
Yeah, I love that that style of training. I kind of get geeked out when I hear the way people train. You know, what's their applications, right? And you know, I have some of that stuff in my training log, but it definitely helps.
Yeah, and again, writing it all down too. Like I go back to old training logs, you know, when I was more of a handwritten type guy, and I'm saying things like that, and I'm like, well, this makes sense now, you know. But so, all right. So you hired by the FDNY. We did college. We totally just got off on our own fitness tangent. So it's for the people that aren't the fitness junkies, hopefully they're listening because we talked fire in there too, though. There was fire stuff. Fire nuggets were
Yeah,
there. We sprinkled in
yeah, golden nuggets, man.
golden fire nuggets that have to do with fitness. But college, you did the whole athletic trainer or sports medicine, not sports medicine, strength training type thing. What led you to the FDNY? Wait, your sound is shot again, dude. I don't know why it keeps cutting out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I don't know. Your sound keeps like as you when you take a couple seconds off, like for some reason it's cutting out. But I got you now. Go ahead. No, it did it again. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Just when I was in college, my freshman year college roommate, when I was a senior at the time, had made me aware of the fact that there was a test coming out in the city, and the way he explained the fire service and some of the things about the job and the pension, the benefits, helping people, being in a wolf pack kind of environment with other, like, you know, call them tactical athletes, right? It's almost like a locker room setting. That sounded like something I wanted to be a part of. So that's what got me all in on trying.
Awesome. And hired off your first test, or did you take multiple tests, or did you go the EMS route?
Nearly 4 years after 4 years of waiting.
4 years of waiting. That's the same for me. I was 4 years on a list before I had gotten hired. And that's something too, that patience, it pays off in the end. Some people don't have that patience, you know?
To give you the bridge between, to give you a better, idea of where I was at. I went from school. I was a personal trainer for some time with Lehman Brothers for a company that they had outsourced for fitness. I did physical therapy aid, um, and then personal training here and there. But then I was all steam ahead on getting to the academy and starting my career.
That's awesome, man. I just love hearing people's stories like that too, because it always brings me back to my own. Like I'm sure when you hear it, it brings you back to your own and that journey, and the fact that it paid off in the end, and you're loving everything you do, you know. And I think that that's huge in our part of our business is you have to love it.
And I'd be amiss or remiss if I didn't mention my mom and my parents and my uncle, the people that pushed me, to see it through. Right, I was more in my community. It was more visible to see cops than it was to see firefighters. So, I'm proud to be the first one in my family to do it, and I hope there's more to continue.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and that too. There's all these other people that are involved in you becoming a firefighter. It's not just you, right? And you're doing it for so many other people to see you through.
Yep.
I love it. I love that kind of stuff. So then you're rocking out for the FDNY, and FDNY CrossFit became a thing because of how?
Trending during my styles of training, being a firefighter was more like you mentioned, it was like more like interval work or doing repetitions at a station, keeping it moving, or just trying to look good with my shirt off, right? Let's keep the truth
That's
of it.
part of it. It's part of it.
And then I was flirting around with Spartan races for a little bit, and then while I was an intern at Fordham University as a strength coach, the one of the assistant strength coaches at the time, he was big into CrossFit, and he put me on. And at the time, Rich was really big, Rich Froning, Sam Briggs, and Matt Chan, and it got me really curious because they were winning, right? They were high end athletes that were in the CrossFit space, but they had a cup of coffee being firefighters, so it really intrigued me, and then I was fully all in. Because I wanted that. I wanted that style of training to be a part of my life, and I thought that the methodology and the education from it was spot on.
And so and then it just became FDNY CrossFit for you, right? But you started out as something else,
Oh,
right?
oh.
You started out as a different name, I think, right?
Originally, we started off as a FDNY Barbell Club. The original idea being behind it was that I didn't want to box out anybody that possibly was like a power lifter or a Olympic lifter in the job. But the heart of hearts, it was always CrossFit. I mean, we were trying to line up a competition with NYPD CrossFit in its infancy, and then we've grown so much. Having our own YouTube against NYPD, having our own benchmark, and it felt like it just made sense to become an LEO affiliate last year with the help of Paul Tremblay. And then we've been an affiliate ever since as an LEO.
It's so cool too, because I mean, again, the FDNY, it's huge, a humongous department. When you look at bigger departments that you guys have, a baseball team, a volleyball team, a hockey team, and then you're so big, you guys have club sports, I guess is a good way to kind of put it, right? Where
Yeah, yeah.
firehouses and things where what I like seeing now in my tenure of this is, I work for a smaller department. There's 108 of us, I think now, but we are now teaming up. We have a hockey team that isn't just my department. It's members all from New Jersey, and they play the FDNY. They play the NYPD and things. And it's cool to see sports taking such a part of our lives, because it kind of is part of most emergency service providers' lives, I feel like.
Anyone that's in the fire service, I mean, to stay physically active and just moving, right? Like, if you have something to train for, I think you're more inclined to, to keep in shape, keep your health markers good with your blood profile, and just checking the box to be ready, especially operational readiness. There's a perfect marriage, and it doesn't hurt to have fun doing the sport. I enjoy competing. I've had successes, I've had my failures on the competition floor, but I think I'm happy that it's allowed me to stay prepared for work.
Yeah, I definitely see that with our hockey guys. I think we have the most like of outside sports. The most guys are playing hockey at this point, and like seeing their competitive juices flowing for their games. And they do. I know, like you guys do a lot of charity work with your competitions and with these things. And it's just again another layer of this is just one more thing you can do that makes this career so great.
It's funny you bring that up, Pip. I was just competing recently at the Winnipeg, at the World Police Fire Games. I wish more people had known about it, or more people or find out about it because it's cops and firemen. It allows you biannually every 2 years to gear up and compete and network and hear other stories of other people around the world. It's a good sporting event and it's a good opportunity for all of us.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I got to be a part of them in Los Angeles, like in 2018 or so, through 555.
2017.
2017 was Los
2017.
Angeles.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
event moves every 2 years. And I know they've been overseas. And so that's another great chance for you to get to go overseas. And I think my misnomer for it in the beginning was like, oh, these are the elite level athletes of everything. And listen, there are definitely some people there that are just amazing athletes, but there's so many different things you can compete in, and it's that networking event. I think that's the clutch part about it that they don't push well enough.
The ultimate ambassador for it. I mean, with this outlet, Pip, I mean, the amount of the spider web that you can create from it, the amount of people you're going to be talking to. Keep pitching that event, man. It's spot on. It's fun, and like I said, it allows you every 2 years to travel. I've been to the one in Virginia. I've been to it in L.A., New York, Chengdu, China, and now Winnipeg.
You went to China too for it?
In CrossFit in that one.
You were? Oh, I'm sorry. The beginning cut out. You were? That's awesome, man.
Chengdu, China in 19, and then I came back to silver in my age group.
Nice, man. I did not know that. And it's funny that this podcast kind of got spurred on because I thought he won the World Police and Fire Games when I read his post real quick. And my own fireman brain, I'm like, oh my God, I got to congratulate him. I read the post so quick. I send him a message. He's like, I didn't win.
The guys were excellent. They were better, man. Hats off to them.
Who won? I'm sorry, because again, the beginning keeps cutting out for some reason. It's really weird. I don't know.
No, I was saying that the guy that won my age group, he was a cop, I believe, from West Virginia,
Oh,
and he
lost to a cop.
he was he was
Don't admit that.
he was I know, but he was excellent, man. He was just at a different gear every time. You looked in the lane or you heard the announcer talk about him over the PA. He was just like, he's just better overall athlete.
Now, I know when it was in LA too, everything was really spread out. Like I only got to watch CrossFit and we watched some powerlifting and something else. Like, was that how it was in Winnipeg? Was it really spread out or was it more like concise that you could see a lot of the different events and things?
DC Convention Center.
Okay.
They had a couple sports exclusively there. But I think with the World Police Fire Games, they try to make it an experience with the city. So they end up, just trying to use different venues so that, you get an idea of the city. You get to travel to go see the sports. They have their own athlete village. So it becomes an experience when you're at the stay of the city. So, you're just not hard, fast, and married to your only spot that you're going to for your sport.
Yeah. And I think too, like you had said, like that spider web that spreads out from there, just meeting different people and different disciplines and different departments and even meeting cops. We're firemen. We talk to cops and we do the whole everything's together, but you're meeting them as well while you're out there competing with them and hearing their stories and things.
Give hats off to the guys in blue, and sometimes they take a beating, whether it be in the news, how people feel about them. So we're lucky as firefighters because we're always helping people out in the jam. They're looking for us for help, but I feel like you always deal with a cop. You're in the jam,
Yeah.
and you're not inclined to give them their credit. But like, if in need, first thing we're gonna do, we call 911 if we're looking for one of them, right? So
Oh, yeah, dude.
if
I've
it
been on the
calls
radio
for
being like, send the police now. Like you're always looking for them when you need them. It's one of those things. And knowing they're out there and you're competing with them and you get the fun rivalry too, because the rivalry is there. Like there's no.
that's there. I mean, that's just how it is, right? We're prideful for our jobs, but it's always good to do stuff with them if it can be forward facing.
Yeah. And so you finish the World Police and Fire Games and you compete for a few days. And I'm like, hey man, come jump on the podcast. And you're like, I'm on a plane to Madison, Wisconsin now, because another thing that's near and dear to your heart and something that I miss being able to be a part of is the CrossFit Med team. And I don't think a lot of people even know that exists. I know when I did it, it was in its earlier stages of regionals, and it's definitely changed. I was in it when the change kind of happened to stepping it up to another level, I guess, than what it was. But how is that all broken down and made up of for folks that may not know how that works? What's that?
It's just how the team is comprised. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
like I guess, or
asking?
even just what it is you guys do, with CrossFit Med, because people don't really, again, I don't think many even CrossFit folks know, that what the red shirts are out there doing, or their important role that they play in the CrossFit world.
For myself, as president of FDNY CrossFit, and then the VP, Sasha Gomez, we've been on the team since 2019, and it was more through networking that we were able to get seated on the team to help out. But it's a plus that as FDNY CrossFit affiliate that we're helping out our games staff for their set event, the Super Bowl. But if people are interested and just want to know how it works, it's the CrossFit Games medical team oversees all the events of the season. You get the open announcements; they're always going to be visible at a semifinal and then at the games. But they're led by doctors at the highest point of the hierarchy that are part of the sports side of the company, and then filtering down within that is comprised of mostly firefighters, um, physicians, orthopedists, nurses, visible people in first responder communities, medics, and then just helping out each event to make sure that the athletes get the best care that they can, to see them through the season, to see them through the weekend, so that the fittest can be assisted in that if they need that.
And it's one of those things too, because when you think about sports, or you have a big sporting event, usually those sports teams that come have their own athletic training staff and med staff and things like that. And that's exactly what the CrossFit medical team is part of. Because in Madison, the Madison Fire Department and their EMS partners out there have rigs and things on the scene. But what the CrossFit Med team does at their events is they're actually kind of like the floor personnel. So if an athlete gets injured, the CrossFit Med team is the first responders, and then you're backed up by the local emergency responders or the like the event location responders, correct?
It's a special group because with the red shirt and being on the medical team, you get to be part of the field of play, just in case anything goes down. I mean, there's only two teams that are allowed near the athletes during field of play, and that's judges and medical. Because if we're needed, we got to be right there on top of it, just in case anything goes down from as broad as like a burn or somebody having a full activation of possibly a cardiac arrest or something happening that's dire need. I'm fortunate and I'm grateful that as a volunteer I've grown now to be someone that's a medical lead, but it's a special group.
Yeah, for sure. And people don't think about that. Like, well, I shouldn't say that, because I think now, with the recent cardiac arrest of LeBron James' son, and what football team did he play for? What was it?
Buffalo
The
Bills,
Buffalo
Damar Hamlin.
Bills. Yeah. We're starting to see this more where it's when people, and when I was into running a lot, and someone would go into like a cardiac arrest at a marathon, and someone's like, oh, that's why I'm not going to run a marathon, because that guy went into cardiac arrest. These things can happen anywhere. The same as with CrossFit. An injury can happen, or a cardiac arrest can happen. It's just the way of being prepared. And that's what I think CrossFit Med's big thing is. They're prepared to take care of their athletes. You guys are 100% prepared.
They set it up. I mean, to get a deep dive. I mean, Dr. Ray, Mike Ray, who heads the whole team. the way that the OGs or the Godfathers of the Med team, like Owen Valuch, the way they had set it up is that on the corners of the field of play, there's first responders, medics and fire and nurses who feed things daily that can react at a moment's notice. And then, like you said, it goes up the food chain if needed. We'll use more resources, and then we could, help the athletes out. We've had some close calls over the years, and then we've stepped up, right? So we're forward facing, and like we say, being part of the Open, being part of the semifinals, and then being part of the games, it's special to all of us on the men team. And there's so many names to talk about, but I'm happy to be a part of it.
There are some amazing people on that med team because I'm fortunate to know a fair amount of them from my own journeys in the CrossFit world and doing the Northeast regionals a couple times and then working the games for Assault and meeting some more people and being in the company of like Owen and Cam and Doc Rocket. And I'm not going to name drop, even though I just did. But, I think part of what it comes down to too is that everyone on the med team is also an athlete, right? So you kind of know the difference of, all right, that person over there is looking a little weary, wobbly right now, but they should be, as opposed to, oh no, that's not looking good.
Different scenes or medical calls, like you can tell when somebody's laboring, and even more so, like you mentioned, as an athlete going through workouts. I mean, you can know when somebody's hurt or that something's visibly wrong or something went wrong that it could hurt you during the workout or something falls on you or whatever the case. Actually, I just wanted to give you a note to jot down when you get through it. You got your next 3 podcasts naming those 3 guys.
This would be like the CrossFit Med Staff podcast, right? Like I want to get
sprinkle it in.
I'll sprinkle them in there every now and again, and Doc Rocket, is an amazing orthopedist. We don't even have to talk about CrossFit. We can just talk about orthopedic injuries and what you can do to prevent yourself from going to see Doc Rocket is the easiest way to put it.
I had a brief moment with him. And, the sentiments that I expressed and why he's so good is because he's had so many successful stories with helping out athletes, like at the moment's notice, or like, go from like saving Emily Rolfe's life, right, of a potential blood clot in her body. And I think they know in the back or when they're warming up or just through talk or text, like the way he's handled situations is the athletes are inclined and feel really comfortable with them.
Yeah, it's just from being that like OG, like you said, like he's just been there since I was on med staff with him in 2015 or 2016. He's been there that long.
You brought him up, and we were talking about you knowing him and CrossFit Launchpad and his wife. So
who was that? I missed the name because again, you cut out a little bit.
Rhonda, you were talking about CrossFit Launchpad.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And knowing Rocket. It was one of the first times we spoke on the phone.
Yeah. It's just those cool things and having those connections and knowing how much passion those folks have for this. And it's just one more thing to look out for, when you can get involved in anything like that. Again, as a first responder, I bring a med kit in my car for my son's lacrosse games. Even though they have training staff there, I still want to be ready just in case something else goes awry.
That makes you a buff.
It makes me a buff that I bring the med kit for my kids thing. Just laying it out.
You walked into that. You walked into that.
I did. Maybe, okay. It makes me a buff because in the med kit is a tourniquet. Like, because you never know, man. I mean, lacrosse sticks and balls flying around. And dude, my son. So, all right, I'm going to toot my own son's horn. You can push kids out. I don't know how much you know about lacrosse, but part of it is like you can push kids out of bounds and then the ball turns over. And we went to this tournament this past year, and all these parents were sitting really close to the sidelines. And I'm like, that seems really close to be sitting, but whatever. And my son is not a larger, imposing 13-year-old like some of these boys are out there, but he gets into it and he pushed the kid out of bounds. And the kid flew into these 2 parents and they were in like the folding chair things and they just flipped back over. And I'm like, oh my God, he just not only injured a kid, but he took out 2 parents too at this thing. The game had to stop. Everybody's helping him. What's that?
I was saying move large loads quickly.
Yeah, I did not get my my buff kit out for that one. Everybody got up and moved on, but I was prepared just in case. I love firemen. I love the way it just never ends, right? You're just gonna always have fun with each other and go on with it.
You just want to be prepared, right?
That's it, man. That's what it's all about. So look, man, we're getting close to that hour, and I know you got somewhere to be. So where can all the folks find you and all the FDNY CrossFit info that they are looking for if they want to do some of your workouts, you know, participate, you know, virtually? I know you kind of have some things that go on throughout the year. So just make sure we get some shout outs there to what you got happening this year.
On social media, if anybody wanted to get in touch with us and find out what we're about, as a LEO affiliate, it's at FDNY _ CrossFit. And then my personal handle is at World Fire Rick. And that's how you can get in touch with me. I'm mostly on those two social media handles. We have a Facebook as well, but it's, I don't know. I feel like Facebook is like phasing out. I don't think it's as forward facing.
Right there with you, man. Instagram is the easiest way, even for the Size Up podcast. If you want to get in touch with me, it's you got to get in touch with me there because
yeah, that's what people are on right now.
Yeah, that's what they're scrolling. That's what the 13-year-old scrolling all the time is Instagram. So, and I can't figure out TikTok, so I just gave up on that one.
That's where he was scrolling Pip to learn how to check people in the cross.
Yeah, dude. I'm not kidding you. He'll show me videos and I'm like, can you do that? He's like, yeah, I can do that. I learned it here. Same thing, lacrosse
awesome.
things, you know.
That's awesome.
And dude, it's one of those things too, where even with fitness and workouts and with the way we started 555 was, man, do that search. Hashtag firefighter fitness or hashtag FDNY CrossFit. You're gonna see so many things out there. You know, it's when people have that excuse, like, I don't know what to do. Dude, you're sitting on your phone, Google it, and it's gonna come up with that workout for you that day.
Departments become affiliates.
So the beginning cut out, but you want more people to become affiliates?
I would love if more departments became affiliates because it would spread the message of CrossFit more.
How much does that entail? Like, can you because maybe people don't even understand that end of it, you know, like.
Well, it's not that complicated. If you can become a non-for-profit within your department or whoever you have to reach out as an affiliated group or as a fraternal group, if that's the opportunity that you have within your department, all you have to do is reach out to the education department and then put your application to submit for an LEO affiliate, and then take it from there. I don't see any impasse or real battles to go through or roadblocks. It's just having your ducks in a row with those things.
And it's one of those things too, where even if you're just guys working out in your station and your union is a not-for-profit or your volunteer agency is a not-for-profit, you know, that's the way you can get in. And now you're an affiliate like you guys and can probably get more benefits out of anything more. You know, those benefits are just going to help. You're already doing the work. So why not reach out and try and make that happen?
Exponential. I mean, you know, Pip being at work, man, if you can get a couple guys to tag along with you on workouts or, you know, with me, it's a little bit of a broader reach because there's 11,000 of us, but there is a net gain. There's a net gain for people's careers, and we could sustain them and have them longer, and guys can be healthy.
That's it, man. That is a great way to end the part of the podcast where we talk about fitness and fire sprinkles. And now I just make you answer questions for a couple seconds here to get into your mind. And one day I'm going to break these down. So you have to be prepared for this. And we didn't even talk about your painting. We're in the next podcast part 2. We're going to talk about your painting passion back there. That's a great painting.
Painting. I just enjoy doing it because I find it relaxes me. I know you made mention before it's big with wine classes, but I've used them to go out with my wife on dates, but I also don't mind going alone to see if I can visually see something and replicate it with my own hands. I find that there's it feels good at the end of the day when you walk away and you did something well. I mean, it looks pretty good if you can see it. It's like
it looks amazing right there, man. If you're watching on YouTube, listen, I am the exact opposite of you because I find that I cannot replicate things in the art world that the person did, no matter how many glasses of wine I have or don't have. And the lady's like, it's like Bob Ross, like, oh, just scrape the paint here, and the lady's saying something. I'm like, this is not. Mine looks nothing like that. They go in the trash when I'm done at one of those paint and sip things.
I remember as a kid watching him, he just went into like a lull or a little trance, just get stuck looking at the guy talk. I mean, his energy was just infectious to paint.
Oh, dude, I can watch him over and over again. I just can't paint like him at all. There's a movie coming out with him. I think Will Ferrell's playing him or something like that.
When that comes out, you gotta send me the trailer, bro.
I think it's happening, so I'll let you know when it comes out. That would be a good one. The Bob Ross. We can maybe do a painting thing. Like you can paint and I'll paint with you, and people could watch my frustration. That would be fun.
I don't know, man. If you're looking for views, I don't know how many you're gonna get off that one.
It's better than a workout. I'll tell than watching me work out. And loads of people have watched me work out and fail. So if they want to watch me paint and fail, it may work out. All right,
What's
man.
the question? Shoot away. Shoot
We're
away.
gonna go quick so we don't lose your audio here. So the size up 10. You tell me, beach or mountains? Which one?
Beach.
Night out or night in? It's hard.
Night in with the wife, night out with the guys.
Oh, I like that one. I like it. A good book or a good movie?
It's a good book now.
Good book now, for sure. Cross country road trip. Who's your co-pilot? Your wife? I'm reading your lips. I don't know
My
why.
wife. My wife.
Yeah.
My wife. Yeah.
You make your bed every day?
Always. First thing I do.
Good man. $1 million right now, or go back to 18 with a redo. Hum a little first. Hum a little because I'm not going to get your audio.
Give me the money.
Give you the money right now? It doesn't exist, man.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just ruined your thing. It doesn't exist. Highways or back roads?
Highways.
Highways, got to get there fast. A bucket list place to visit?
If anyone's listening, Taormina, Sicily.
Oh, that's my motherland right there, man. I haven't been to Taormina though, but that's my motherland.
It's a must see, brother.
All right, I'll get there next time with the boys. All right, football or football? Football for sure.
Yeah, American.
I thought it was American football. I'll go with that. And last but not least, and make sure you lead up with it so we don't miss this one. Best advice you could give to your younger self.
To my younger self is dream and try. Dream and try, because you never know.
I love it, man, because those dreams, everybody has to dream and everybody needs dreams, but you have to try to make them realities, right? And that's just such a great message to end on.
You got to get in it, man. You got to try. I mean, because if you don't, then there's so many more things that cascade, like regret, or I wish I did. You don't want that. I'm sorry about the audio as well, Pip. I'm sorry that was the case.
It's funny. It's just like the first two words, but what you're saying is still coming out. You know what I mean? Like it's not a thing. You can barely even tell. So I think we'll be okay with it, man. I'm good with it. And if it's really horrible, we'll just do another one another day. And this one will be out there and we'll make a better one with painting involved.
Yeah, you'll follow me do this like Ross.
It'll be just like Bob Ross Fireman Edition, East Coast Fireman Edition of Bob Ross. Maybe we could have a class. I can get a bunch of people, see who we can line up.
I might be one of the only few, Pip, that you interview as a firefighter that's going to have a painting in the background. So
it could be. You could be the only one, man. I may actually just screenshot this and make it your picture for the title of the interview, just because the painting's back there and it's so amazing. So, listen, Rick. It has been great interviewing you, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on. We're going to have to, as I say this with all my guests, I want to do a part 2 because we just got more to talk about, I'm sure.
I'm grateful that you asked, Pip, first off. And I've seen what you've done with 555 Fitness. I had such a good time being on here, man. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, man.
Awesome, brother, man. It's been a great conversation. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you from our sponsors, my friends at Fire Department Coffee for my new hat that I got and keeping me caffeinated. Also, a quick shout out for our friends at Assault Fitness. And we didn't even talk about Assault Fitness products. So we're going to have to do that another time, too, because I go way back with them and they suck. Their products suck the life out of me and you and anyone else who ever gets on those devil machines that they make.
Part 2, Pip. We'll do the part 2.
Part 2 for sure, man. Thanks again for listening, guys, and I will catch you all next Tuesday.